And it was killing us, so we quit about the same time. And Barry was staying down in Jacksonville, and we got together.
Basically, Duane kind of left. He was had fallen in love with this young lady, and he just kind of traveled around, and I would hear from him every few weeks. And then finally, a few months later, he called me after the famous Jacksonville Jam, and he said, "I've got it together."
We were all getting together and jamming and saying, well, before we start anything, let's just say, to hell with it, man. Let's don't get that same shit started up. But the more we jammed, it got a little bit better.
Twigs Linden, I think, was in fact with him. Twigs verified the fact that it was this unbelievable musical occurrence that had taken place down there.
And you can tell Duane was super excited about the prospect of starting another band after having been so disappointed with his first attempt at Hourglass. But sitting there, and Duane just saying to himself this day, I think I'm going to call my brother Greg. He called Greg, and he said, hey brother, putting together a group, think you ought to get down here. And they talked for a bit, just joking with each other. And, the conversation just went on, and then the next thing I know, a few months later, Greg and the rest of the Allman Brothers band were rehearsing in Macon.
That's why we live in Macon instead up here, though, because it's not near as full of perverted people. It's not going to be the center of anything. That's why we stay there. It's just good and quiet, and there's no trouble. There's no nothing.
So I put together an apartment a couple of apartments on Old College Street in Macon, and bought a bunch of mattresses, and they all moved up. We still did not have a singer, and instrumentally it sounded very, very powerful. And it was several weeks later that it was finally agreed to call Greg and extract him from his deal with Liberty Records, and we successfully did that, and he joined the band, and that basically began about almost a year of rehearsing, and it was, I think, about 10 to 11 months later that we actually recorded the band.
You knew there was something going on, but it hadn't really taken its shape yet. Duane hadn't really, I think, and everyone else hadn't really decided exactly what they were going to do. And all their money, whatever money they were having, plus the money that was getting advanced to them, management, record company type money, was all going into the enormous equipment supply, the enormous, they went out on the road with, at that time, even $30,000, $40,000 worth of stuff, and it was all put into that, and they made, tremendous personal sacrifice.
It was probably between $150,000 and $175,000, which today that would probably be $500,000 to $1 million today. It was an awful lot of money. Most people, I think most people thought I was certifiably insane, and I really believed in it. I really thought it was something new. I thought it was something fresh. I thought it was that they made a very powerful statement. Musically, I felt that they were innovative, and the band was more instrumentally oriented, and on its first two albums, I think you would say, even up to the Fillmore album, than they were vocally. Greg would sing a little bit, and they'd play for a long time. He'd sing a little bit, and they'd play for a long time. I remember the first time I heard Statesboro.
Is not one of the enumerated grounds. So is this an oversight? Is this an oversight? It's just an oversight. I know it is, because I've talked to lawyers down in Texas who are familiar with law.
On the initial dates outside the South, I think it's fair to say that they probably played a bit above everybody's heads.
The Allman Brothers were a group that were commercially, I think a lot of people looking at them, just didn't see it. They just didn't see this group going on to become the group that it did, And then I ran into Duane again in Boston, which is where I come from, because the Allman Brothers band, the first gig that they played outside of Boston, outside of the South, was in Boston playing second on a bill with Dr. John. It was at the Boston Tea Party, and it was quite a nerve-wracking evening because the group was there, and Phil Walden was there.
Yep, I remember I was there. I was sweating bullets. I had a representative from every major agency in New York there. And I'll tell you who they opened for. They opened for the Velvet Underground. Talk about a weird combination, a weird billing. But they played a very powerful set. And I can remember the criticism.
I remember a couple of professional music business people who took a look at the band and came over to me and said, didn't really think they had it. Didn't really think it was going to happen. There was a lot of pressure on the Allman Brothers, from people like that. People would come up and say, well, the group would be more commercial if Duane and Greg were sort of out in front, that they seemed to, but some people thought at the beginning seemed to be a little more colorful or whatever it was.
What you need to do is get these guys. Greg needs to get up from behind that organ. He's the pretty boy, and get these guys out of blue jeans and get them in some velvet. And Greg needs to be up front and fall down on his knees and prance around the stage. And in other words, they needed to be more English than Southern. We resisted that, thank goodness. If I remember, he said, "Oh no, here we go again."
Like, to me, it's some people just really, that don't know where rock and roll came from, will really settle for a hell of a lot less, for a cheap, cruddy imitation of something that was really intense, back maybe 10 or 15 years ago, that some of Bo Diddley was really laying down, And like, rock and roll will tell you right where everything's at, man. It's just, it's blues, but it's not like blues.
It took them a good year of working the Northeast to really solidify a strong base of support up there. Oh, they toured forever. I mean, on an average month, they play no less than 25 days out of every month, as little as $100 a night. And that's where a lot of the funding was. I mean, we basically supported these guys. It was not a profitable situation any more then than it is today with a new band.
At that stage, it was a whole different thing. It's just to me, it's sort of funny seeing the group and seeing Duane and see that the only thing really holding it together at the beginning was his confidence and the fact that he was unshakable in his confidence. They just want to get up on a stage and play better than anybody else. They had that goal and they succeeded.